Welcome to the top show where men unite, having conversations that inspire, ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the top show, spreading good vibes.
All right, welcome back to season 3, episode 13, 14. We have another guest with us today. His name is Jack. He's really good at photography, but it's amazing photos that I've been seeing through your stories. So just tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get into the topic of what tools you've used to overcome mental health challenges.
So my name's Jack Conyers III. I'm originally from Dayton, Ohio. Live in outside the Cincinnati area now. Lived in Raleigh, North Carolina for a short stint, about 6 years. Work in legal technology, so I implement a software solution for corporate legal departments, the corporate side, and then I developed this kind of creative side of myself during COVID, and I taught myself photography from scratch, with the help of some friends and, of course, resources, and it's kind of an outlet for me to decompress after all of the nerdom, shall we say, of corporate world and everything. So it's actually kind of a tool that I use for mental health. It's kind of a tool I use just to express myself in a different way than the analytical engineering type stuff.
Yeah, the goals that you is really impressive. I'm just so blown away when I see it and I look at your stories. Type of skills that you need to go into photography, like you have to learn about the camera, like different camera angles, or
so it's funny,
really
honestly, anybody can really get into it. When I first started, I couldn't get out of my own way because I'm technical and analytical by nature. The area that I work in, and so I kind of got into the creative space, and it hindered me actually. So it probably wasn't until last year and a half, no, actually probably last 2 years, that I had a really good friend, Elena, and she was shot professionally, and she is the one that kind of pushed me into looking at photography and kind of mentor. And then I have another guy that's a mentor for photography, but she encouraged me. She said, just stop going to a scene and just shooting it immediately. Walk it, edit, look up the area, see what people have shot, and then ask yourself, what can I create that's different? And everything that I shoot, that's exactly how I approach it. From a landscape to a person to a product to an event, I'm like, what can I create that nobody has seen yet, or that gives somebody a little bit of a different view? Because when you look at a scene, there's always another side of it that people haven't seen. And so that helps me get creative. That helps me just visualize and slow down and appreciate the art that is photography.
Yeah. Is there anything like you to kind of photography, or is it something that you did? It was something that you wanted to get started because you're kind of around and bored probably. Is there anything is there that you wanted to like you to get started? Was it like a friend or confident?
I lost like a bunch of weight. My weight loss journey, I lost like 2 pounds, and I used to always want to make my dish look appetizing because for I think it was 5 years I went plant-based actually, and kind of uncharted territory for a lot of people, right? Because I wanted to make those foods look really delicious and appetizing and to present that. So I always just used my phone for that. And then as I was active and getting out to go on bike rides and walks, I wanted to capture the nature and say, look how beautiful it is. Just get outside and get some sunlight. And through that, I think I started to really appreciate the visual aspect of life. And I think that's where Elena approached me and said, you really have an eye for this. You should probably look at true photography. And that's what you were talking about, like in the settings and figuring out the camera technology and the brands and how you utilize all that and how it all works together. So honestly, just my journey through wanting to myself and my health is what really.
Does that kind of you to like in a way, like to get away from all the negativity and you just see like sunsets and stuff like that? Does that kind of help you like feel calm in a world of chaos right now?
It does. It helps me escape a little bit. Especially if it's a landscape, it's just me and what's in front of me and my camera. And so I'm like, what story can I tell from this scene? And it could be something as simple as a tree and a leaf. There's so many stories you can tell just from that. Like my coffee, I love coffee. That's a huge thing for me. And I think I post my coffee most days of the week that I make at home. To a coffee shop. So it's a way for me just to say, hey, I'm kind of romanticizing my morning routine with myself.
And that's a good thing. Like it's always good to something that you really resonate, and that helps you to stay a calm and peace. What other tools have you used to? Let's get into the conversation now. What other tools have you used to kind of to cope with? Like, do you do like meditation, therapy? What's some of your other techniques that you've been using to kind of help life?
So therapy is a huge one. I've been in therapy. It'll be 2 years next month, actually, that I've been going consistently every other week. When things were really hot and heavy, probably every week for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I have to go through. I think this is my fourth therapist because I think it's really key to understand that. And I went in with this misconception: therapy is not going to do the work for you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy
Yeah.
is not going to just make everything better. It's going to give you skills to cope and find ways to navigate. It's not going to fix you. You're not broken. That was something that I was hard on myself with. Like, I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. Why do people treat me this way? Why do things happen to me? Through therapy, therapists help me find tools. And then I have a few really, really good friends that are in the mental health space. They've been doing it for 15, 20 years themselves. And so they have given me tools. So um, work is a big one. You Funny because in the beginning, when these things were presented to me, I was like, well, what the heck is that? I don't know what that is. It sounds goofy, right? It sounds weird. And I think when you can really just put aside any stigma around it and just get involved with it, really changes you. Like the mirror work is just sitting there having a conversation with your younger self or your current self in the mirror, being as vulnerable as you can be. And I almost guarantee if you have any type of pain, trauma, the tears will flow. It is so releasing. One, and I admit, I'm the first to admit, I struggle with keeping journaling at the forefront. I do it for a week and a half and then I'll slack off. I'll get back on and I'll do it for like 2 weeks and I'll slack off. And I think it's one of those things. I'm really big into technology, so I want to do it in a technical way. And I struggle to put pen to paper with journaling. And I think that's where my struggle is at. And I also think that I struggle with knowing that I can have these hard conversations with people. I can type it out, I can communicate it through photography, anything. But the fact if I write it down, I know I can go back and see it at any point. I think that subconsciously scares me. So that's something that I battle within myself that I have to work on. Um,
Yeah, and you mentioned loss.
yep,
Personally, a weight loss journey myself because
yep,
it does take a toll on you mentally. Talked about this last season on my this talk show where I talk about I go through lows. Sometimes I was too skinny, and then I was too small.
yep.
I got bigger, so it's just like I understand that you resonate with you on that with the weight loss journey. That I think that that's something that a lot of men don't really talk about as much as women do. Um,
I had a
so
really good conversation with Daryl about that. I think that most people don't realize that men have body image issues too.
mhm.
Struggle with it. They're not as vocal about it as women. There's not the community around men like as women.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate because I think a lot of men, if they felt they had community around it, be a little bit more open about it.
yeah.
Um, and I see the guys in the gym and they're, everything, they're probably working on an
Hmm.
insecurity, inside themselves, and it may not be physical. It could be something else.
Hmm.
They could be
Yeah,
fighting a demon inside.
yeah. I think the men that kind of go to the gym, I feel like they have something to prove to the
Hmm.
world.
Yep.
It's this one bodybuilder worked out so much that he eventually get his name by suicide because he had some mental illnesses going on within him where he would kind of I want to say body dysmorphia. I wanted to say something like maybe it's something like you can't work out too much because then the muscles become too big for you
Mm,
and then it becomes like it doesn't look neat and clean. And
right.
I think he was going through something like mental issues where he was battling things like I think he even got raped as a child.
Oh,
It was a lot of mental illness going on and things to that. So he would always constantly keep working out, put on this much weight until it eventually he just died. Unfortunate to hear, but when people work out too much, that's unhealthy too. Yeah.
it becomes obsessive, actually.
Hmm. Yeah.
Working out, that's eating, like your diet. I mean, it can become obsessive to where it's unhealthy. You're trying to be healthy, but you have an unhealthy relationship around it.
Yeah. A lot of other times where it's men are being really silent and they don't want to vocalize, things that they don't like about their body. Um, a lot of men's mental health groups, and just tell what's going on in our lives. Like, it can be big or small, but it's something that you have a voice. And a lot of men now today, with the economy going on, a lot of men have been DMing me lately, like kind of asking me to kind of them out and stuff like that. And some of these are really close friends, and it's like, I wish I could help everybody, but unfortunately, I can't help everybody. But I have resources to give them. With some resources to kind of men that you might be battling with image or just mental health issues in general, with some resources you can kind of get there.
Honestly, community is huge. And say that, I don't mean you have to have 20, 30, 50 people. You could have one or two really deeply connected, good people around you, and it will make a world of difference. A lot of people feel like they have to remain silent because they fear being judged. So community is it makes you feel included. It makes you feel heard. It gives you that, quote, safe space to open up and be your authentic self. I know there's like resources. I know there's like, it gets to that point, like the suicide hotline for sure. I think therapy, and I know some people fear the cost of therapy, but there are therapy resources where they will work with you on a sliding scale. If you are in that arena, they will help you. You just have to search for them a little bit more. They're not as prominent, they're not as at the forefront and available to you. But they have, I mean, people go to these therapists on a sliding scale and their sessions are $30 instead of whatever the normal cost is. If you have insurance, call your insurance company. A lot of people think insurance just won't cover mental health. You'll be shocked if you can really dig into it. They don't make it readily available again. You have to really call and talk to somebody and dig. That's what I had to do. Pretty fortunate that my insurance does cover therapy sessions, but I had to call. I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, the hardest thing, like, you like search all of these different companies.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just like it doesn't always align with what you think it's going to be. I know this one program that I just started is called Evergreen Mentoringship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's covered through Medicaid if you get Medicaid through the government, or health insurance that you can kind of through the help through the government. And it's basically going to assign you a mentor based on whatever you're going through. So if you're going through, they will assign a trauma therapist to you, or if you're having sex issues with your partner, will assign that appropriate. Or if you're going through just general mental health issues, will assign it based on the that you need. Like I said, just to bring up therapy, I've been through therapy for stopped going the last 2 years because I couldn't find the right therapist.
Yeah.
I had this one therapist, and she was just so like, she knew when things was not right with me. She would look at my facial expressions, and she could just kind of between the lines, and I didn't have to come in near to. Couldn't fake with her at all.
Yeah.
Like, he knew me so well. It's around Daron. I see that look on your face. And good therapists, when they can pick up on cues like that. Personally, I've been through a lot of therapy just because I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and I've seen how wonderful it can really help. And there's a lot of men that I talk to on a regular basis that is also getting therapy too, because we have this notion that you're not manly to go to therapy, or it's not manly to talk about your feelings, but and it actually helps save lives. Many men DM me and message me saying, thank you for even doing this talk show, for even doing, his mental health talk show where I do with some other people. It's just so wonderful to be able to see changes that we bring into the community free of charge. Unfortunately, we can't save everybody. And had an incident I want to say about 2 years ago when I first started this talk show, where it was the members in my group, unfortunately, he had killed himself. There was nothing we can do about it because he needed extra help beyond what we was able to give him.
Right.
And I always think back to my story and, discussing this with, that I do the show with, like, it's not your fault. It's nothing you can do because you can't save everybody. But I definitely want to highly stress, if you can't go to therapy, You can get it for free of charge with, and this is not me sponsoring them at all, but it's just a program that I recommend that's going to kind of you to take a look at what's really going on, because there's a lot of issues internally with men that they don't really talk about. Like if they're really angry so much, there's a deeper issue going on, or always arguing and always trying to defend their case. Then it's they were silenced as a child, and they didn't get the voice. They didn't have the voice to speak up for themselves as a child. So now have to interject and speak on everything, even if it's not their place to say it. So it can get really, really deep. I do highly recommend therapy and maybe some system groups that's going to help you. And I know you talk about journaling a lot. Never really done that because it never personally helped me.
Yeah.
Never personally helped me, but some of the benefits of what would you say?
So for the audio journaling, because I've done a little bit of audio journaling, and what's big for that for me is I can replay it. I can pick up on my tone, and in my tone, I can tell a lot. Like how I was feeling that day. Did I feel hurt? I can pick up on that if I go back and listen to it. Like the aspect of that technology piece, because I can listen to it anywhere I'm at. So if I feel like I'm getting into a tough spot, if I'm traveling for work or something, I can listen to it wherever I'm at. But I think some days I don't have anything to journal about. Some days are great and wonderful. So at that point, it becomes more of a brain dump, top of mind. Thing that I've tried to start thinking about and do is, what am I feeling when I sit down to journal, whether it's audio or writing? That body sense, like what I feel, I smell. If I don't have anything, if I have something, then I try to structure it a little bit and not just brain dump it, because I want it to make sense when I go back to look at it. I'm like, what are things that I was grateful for today? Because I did have a structured journal I did for a while. I forget what it was called. It was a really good journal. But it's like, what was something that I'm grateful for today? I'll list three things. What is something that went well? What are a task I did? What are the challenges I had? And I think when you do this, it is very, very crucial on the words that you use. Not what problems do I have, not what went wrong, what challenges. Challenge is something that I can overcome. A challenge is something that I can meet and face. Versus what went wrong, that automatically puts me into a negative mind state. That automatically puts me into a negative space, and I start to spiral. Like wording, when you talk, when you are typing, when you anything, it is so crucial. And it took me so long to realize that words that we use, the content we consume, it's huge. It makes this night and day in your life experience.
Yeah, now that you broke it down like that, I kind of get a good sense for it. Got to get back to working out because I enjoyed that really out of all of the techniques to kind of it just does something to your body, like when you're on the treadmill and you kind of yourself for longer periods of time. I don't know, that feels good to me. Like
It's like on my working out, and
yeah, me too. But I'm just saying in general, when I have worked out, it just gets that adrenaline going. Like I'm gonna be on here for 5 minutes straight. Can I do this? And then after I reach 5 minutes, can I do 10 minutes? Then can I do 15 minutes? And I don't say that to say like shouldn't watch what you're doing. Like a lot of times people overexert themselves when they're working out too, and they don't want to tire themselves out. So don't try to overexert really too much. To find that balance of okay, minutes today, maybe 10 minutes the next day, and spread it out so it's not so much on your body. And you don't even have to just do workout. You can lift weights. That's something that I'm trying to do more and incorporate. And then also getting enough sleep as well too. Going to really help you to really get that good feeling when you want to be in a bad mood or something like that. We talked about therapy. We talked about how that's something we haven't hit on too. That's another tool that I wanted to kind of remember the first time when I was in a nonprofit organization tutoring kids. At this meeting where everybody would just sit in the gymnasium and we would and I was like, this is stupid. But really, when you take a little bit deeper look at it, I think it's something like it forces you to control what's going on with yourself. Like having a lot of tension or anxiety, it kind of that in a way. You ever done any meditation before? Any techniques?
Yeah, I've tried to a little bit. I talked to my therapist. I was like, I wanted to start looking at meditation, and I was like, I struggle because when I sit here and I try to do it, I feel dumb. And I was pretty upfront with her, and she's like, I totally get it. Happens with a lot. So one thing that I did before is I tried yoga for 60 days just on YouTube. I bought a mat and everything, and it was one of those things where it was the yoga where you kind of yourself, and so there's a little bit of a meditation component to it. And I feel like for some people, if they struggle with just being able to sit in silence and actually get in tune with themselves, I think that's a good starting point because number one, it's not a super physical exertion for that type of flow of yoga. Their yoga flows are very intense, but that helps you do something in addition to the meditation so you don't feel as awkward. You're stretching yourself, you're loosening those limbs and the muscles and the tendons, and you're still meditating in this kind of a little bit. So I think that's a good one. Um, one meditation technique that she told me when you're doing this, do a body scan, number one. And that's kind of what I mentioned with the journaling is like, what are you feeling? What do you smell? Because if you can focus on the senses individually, you're truly escaping that awkward feeling because you're like, for 30 seconds, okay, what I smell around me? I touch, feel my shirt or whatever, things around me. All of those type of things. Is it cool in the room? Is it warm? And you're truly calming yourself down because you're kind of a silo around the senses and everything. Struggle with some of the meditation techniques where it's do this or do that or really just kind of to a place. I think if it's one of those things I do before bed, I probably can do it a little bit more because I'm kind of sleepy. So
Mhm.
I'm like, where can I go to relax so I can go to bed?
And then another technique that I wanted to bring up is body massages or
Mm,
acupuncture.
I've never tried
Um,
acupuncture.
it's not for the weak.
How do you feel after though?
I felt sore. I felt very
Okay.
sore with that. Like the body massages that kind of gets me going, and then like the facial to kind of off all of the maybe things that I'm wearing on my face, or
Mhm.
all of the things that maybe might make my stress, or
Okay.
chemicals that might fly in my face, like getting that deep and then deep massages kind of tension off my body. Like if you go, I know some people just don't like anybody to kind of on their body because that can get kind of intimate.
Yeah.
I think that that's something, and it depends on, you're a guy, you might want a woman, or if you are a woman, you might want a woman. But
Right.
in today's society, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. As long as the person is respectful of your body
Yeah.
parts, that's all that really matters about in that aspect. But that definitely, I wouldn't recommend acupuncture if you're not strong enough to do that. But I would recommend body massages and getting a facial because it kind of release all the tension in body. Because I remember when I would used to go regularly, I had stopped doing that just because I didn't have enough time to always do that. But I really do need to go back to do that because that kind of need to set the tone for my next week. Feel
Hmm.
relaxed and relieved. It kind of helped me to get along in my day, like not feel so edgy or tense or want to cut someone out. And the hot rocks. Have you ever tried that before?
Never tried
That's
hot
another.
rocks either.
Never try hot rocks.
No.
Not
Only thing I
weak.
do is like I get a pedicure.
It's
Thing I
not
do.
for the weak either.
Like a little torture.
Yeah, it's definitely the hot rocks is something
Okay.
that I'm just recommending different things because I think it's good for men in general to get in
Yeah.
touch with soft side of just
Absolutely.
learning not to be so manly and learning to kind of some of these techniques into their life, because last thing you want to do is don't feel like you don't have any outlet to away from the problems that you have for a little bit. I can't say that all of these techniques is going to solve your problems
Right.
in one day, but it's a work in progress. Like you can even combine some of these too, like body massages on the weekend. And the weekday, you can go see your therapist,
Hmm.
and meditation. If somebody is going for, like, if they like to write a lot, I think that that's going to be really helpful for them. Um,
And I think that
work.
all factors into self care, really.
Mhm,
Those things out. Everybody's so obsessed with trying to be so manly and masculine. That is authentic with themselves and vulnerable with themselves. That is the real manly person.
mhm,
Like nothing wrong with getting a pedicure or facial or a massage. There's nothing
mhm.
wrong with a man crying. Like that
Hmm.
man that can cry in front of everybody, that's a real damn man. So
Hmm.
I
I
know.
remember like, oh, I wouldn't cry in public. Like I
Same.
wouldn't cry in front of any women because I thought that that
Yep.
would make me weak or soft or it just doesn't look manly to do that. But I remember I cried in front of my mom because I was having a really bad day when I was living with her at the time when I was in my early 20s. Couldn't find a job, just couldn't keep a job. Just to be honest, because just toxic jobs going in and out. And I
Yeah.
was with her and I was working at Progressive and I was just so exhausted. Almost 2 years nonstop, haven't had a vacation, doing everything I can to make the company money and trying to get to the next top, and I just felt so defeated. And because I couldn't get to the next level like I wanted to in the company after working almost there 2 years, and I just broke down. I was like, "Mom, I had enough." And I just came down my throat. And I'm like, "What is these tears? Let me try to wipe them up." Nowhere to see that, and then you have to cry, and then it just all pours out all at
Yep.
once. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm crying now."
It's a lot of pent up emotions, and crying is, people look at it as someone being weak. It's actually cleansing some sort of emotion you have inside. You've kept pinned up too long. So it's actually very therapeutic because you're cleansing that emotion away. You're freeing it.
Mm. I never heard someone state it that way.
Yep.
That's a good one. And I think another technique that I wanted to kind of up was like therapy. That's another one. A lot of people don't know, or they might know about it, but I don't think they associate it as a technique to kind of mental health. Every day I kind of do my playlists and I try to select the ones that's most calming, that's uplifting. And you can even use AI to generate some songs now too. That's kind of
Oh
calming.
wow.
Yeah. At the it's that you can genre of the music, the style of it, the composure of it, and it'll sound just like a real person singing
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
it. Yes, I do that on a regular basis. I go through a playlist to say some of my best songs and then maybe even remix them. Kind of need to meditate because I think music is so powerful.
Hmm.
You don't have to be a music therapist, or you don't have to be music to understand, compose the basic things to get what you want out of the generated songs.
Yeah.
I do that all the time, and it's just so cool and uplifting to hear songs that generate on your own to make you feel peaceful. Definitely, I want to recommend swimming too. That's another technique. Done that in about like 4 years, just
Okay.
because I don't like the water. I get very weary about dirty water. That's my pet peeve. I think that that's another kind of forces your body to just sit there in silence, like lay back in the water and just calming. Another technique I really would recommend for somebody that you don't know how to swim. Then yeah, you can get swimming lessons as well too. I think that's all the time I wanted to have today. Do thank you, Jack, for coming on here, being vulnerable and stories because we're really saving lives. And I hope that the viewer that's watching this can relate to either me or you, or just other men in general, as we continue to have them on here. Um, I wanted to ask you one final question here.
Hmm.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to men that is through some mental health challenges? They didn't find any of the techniques. I don't know why they would not find it, any of the techniques, but you always have that one viewer that just maybe don't resonate with anything you say. What is one piece of advice that you would give to him if he's kind of struggling right now in life?
So I think this was a little bit long, not too long, but I think I struggled my entire life with, not my entire life, but up until probably I got into therapy, or probably a couple years before, is struggling with who I was as my core self, because I always wanted to fit in. I always wanted to be perceived a certain way. And when I lifted that weight and just was me, I felt so free. So don't be afraid to be your true self. Don't put on a charade for everybody else. And when you can be vulnerable with yourself, seriously, so much pressure lifts off of you. And I say that because I feel like people get angry because they want to be themselves and maybe themselves isn't accepted by everybody, or maybe they feel judged. Just be you and don't be afraid to reach out. Like, can't save everybody, but my DMs are always open. Like, I love having conversations with other men that want to get in touch with their mental health and emotional health, and they go to therapy, and tell me about their struggles and everything, because it's real. It's hard. Life is not easy.
Yeah, second that too. It's not easy. You've been through so many past
Mhm.
relationships, toxic women, toxic friendships.
Same. All of it.
And it
Yep.
just after a while, it seems like every relationship, every friendship, I can't always provide. And I just feel like it was hard to find the right person. I still struggle with that today. Like I had to cut a lot of friends off in my life. I think that because it was affecting me mentally. So I want to tell the men that's watching this that if you're going through a relationship or friendship, you have to let people go, them down. You can't carry them to the top of the mountain with you. If you carry them to the top of the mountain with you, eventually they're going to destroy everything you build. And I'll say this one last thing here too to end the show. I had a friend and he would always call me, ask me, can you help me find a job? Can you help me do this? And I was just like at a point like, you're gonna help your damn self. Me,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a nice person, but I only can take so much. And I don't see any initiative coming from your end. So how do I supposed to feel about the situation? Am I supposed to just always suck it up and just cater to everything you want me to do, you want help with? Or if I'm your real friend, I'm gonna tell you the truth about what needs to be said so you can be able to implement it on your own.
There
And
it
I don't
is.
think a lot of people like to hear the truth.
Mm-mm.
Um, I say all day that whatever you're going through, man, in life, I've been through the toxic friendships, I've been through the toxic relationships, I've been through eviction in my life, like financially, I've been through all of that. And to some degree, I'm not that well financially off, but I'm in a better position than I was 4 years ago. I say all that to say it's help out here. So don't feel like you have to do it all alone. There's 211, there's 988. There's a lot of men's mental health groups, support groups. I'm in like 6, 7, 8 different groups. I don't
Wow.
care because I have these talks. In fact, when I'm going to one tonight at 7 p.m. So it's just like all of these support systems are here to help you. But if you don't never reach out and you don't never take any initiative, you know what I'm saying? I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make her drink it. It's useless for me to sit up here and talk if you're never going to take anybody's advice. So I say all that today that it's help out here, man. But I do want to thank you, Jack, for coming on here. It's been a pleasure talking to you for almost 40 minutes.
Absolutely.
We could talk
No,
all day.
yeah, I go over this for hours and hours.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Video will be posted tonight, so you'll send a copy to you, a YouTube link. And if you know any other men that wants to come on here, come my way. If you have any
okay.
male friends or even female friends, kind of open it up to be a little bit more diverse. But
Okay.
mainly, it's more about men because they suffer the most. You
I
have
have a couple in
anybody?
mind. So
Yeah, if you have them, like, send them my way, and we can keep in touch and keep going with those photography skills because those are that's on fire. Like I be looking, I'll be like, damn, there's some good artwork right there.
appreciate it. I love it. Yeah.
Take care, man.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.